was going up from town, I met the grain trains rolling down. Every day 100 trains, every train 100 cars, every car 100 tons, every ton 100 sacks, every sack 10,000 grains. And that's what cities get from trains. Some politicians lacking brains said in voices dripping sweet, we don't really need these trains, railroads all are obsolete. They're union strong, it makes demands, they guard their yards with railroad dicks who kick our cops clean off their lands, do not like our politics. As I was going up from town, I met the grain trains rolling down. Every day 100 trains, every train 100 cars, every car 100 tons, every ton 100 sacks, every sack 10,000 grains. And that's what cities get from trains. So the politicians passed some laws to screw more money off the trains and deeper dip their pudgy paws in more control of railroad gains. The railroad said, get off our land. They went on strike to show their peak. The grain train stopped their rolling and the city starved within a week. As I was going up from town, I met the grain trains rolling down. Every day 100 trains, every train 100 cars, every car 100 tons, every ton 100 sacks, every sack 10,000 grains. And that's what cities get from trains. Hunger riots burned and rose and battered down the State House door, and all those fat politicos were killed and eaten by the poor. And with the city out of joint and no more politician men, the railroad said they'd prove their point and sent the grain trains down again. As I was going up from town, I met the grain trains rolling down. Every day 100 trains, every train 100 cars, every car 100 tons, every ton 100 sacks, every sack 10,000 grains. And that's what cities get from trains.
Good morning, Minecraft. Wandering Beekeeper here. How you doing? It is Saturday morning. We have talked about what we get from trains. It is time to look at how we do trains. We are going into Minecraft in just a moment here. Going to talk a little bit about history, a little bit about mods, a little about trains, a little bit about Minecraft. It's going to be an interesting couple of hours ahead of us. I should warn you that I am the former line developer of a steampunk role-playing game, tabletop role-playing game, and a historian, and this is my time period, and so yeah, I get a chance to talk about stuff that I know and love here. So that I'm just gonna kind of geek out over a bit of history here. Let's see. Whoops. Okay, we're gonna see this every now and then on this stream as I switch back and forth. We're gonna start in a Minecraft 1.18.2 world here. Because I want to look at a traditional create build. We're going to be looking mostly at create as the core here. Create is the early part of the Industrial Revolution. If you go back into history and you look at the Industrial Revolution, the course of technology over the 1800s, from like 1800 to 1900, that's actually far too wide an area, an era, but it'll do for us. Over that 100 years, we went from burning coal and doing everything basically by burning coal for heat and light, and doing everything by horse and ox, We developed steam power. We developed a factory industrialization, which went through multiple stages, which I am going to talk about, and we ended up with electricity at the end of that. Over the course of 100 years, we went from doing everything by horses and only burning coal in the stove to cook on and for heat, light, but to the coal burning is done at in a factory a long way away, and that power is converted into electricity and sent to us. We're still essentially coal powered. This is a thing that needs to be discussed, and at some point I will probably bring up William Jevons and the coal question, his book, which talked about peak fossil fuels 100 years before anybody said the phrase peak oil. But let's go on and look into Minecraft. Now I'm going to have to watch my heat. I've already had an overheat once this morning, and I'm streaming, and I'm really hoping that this holds. This mod, particular mod pack, is hard on my poor laptop. We're going to look real quick. We've got the usual pipes set up, feeding up to a boiler. The important thing is that we've got this boiler going. We started off with water wheels. There's our water wheel. Set of water wheels driving the pumps that got the water up to the boiler and allowed us to light the boiler. This is the early part of the Industrial Revolution. You're starting off with water wheels. You've already had them for a couple thousand years. You've got windmills. And then we start to develop steam power. Now, steam power is initially static. It is not mobile. It takes a long time before anybody thinks to put a boiler on a wheeled platform and let it move itself. Quite a concept. We are going to start off looking at here at a standard Create factory. This is all base Create. The Bonker. This is the first machine you always build and create, and it's called the Bonker because the achievement you get from it is titled Bonk with an exclamation point. So, the mod calls it the Bonker. Fine, I will not argue with the mod. Color-coded belts in here, basic stuff. I've left all the shaft exposed and not used andesite casing on anything so that I can monitor the moving parts. So, we have a boiler. Important thing is we have a boiler. Boiler is driving a main shaft. The main shaft runs the length of the factory floor and is the main power takeoff for the factory. This is how an early Industrial Revolution factory was put together. The devs who are continuing to work on Create have done a bang-up job of replicating the actual progression of technology. Early Victorian factories looked very much like this. There was a boiler, and it drove a rotating shaft, and you used leather belts to take power from the shaft over to the machinery. Or you drove gears, as we are doing here. Each of these Autocrafter arrays is making a different color of dye. They're labeled as to the colors. And it's all being powered, again, by this rotating main shaft here. Oh, there we go. There are a lot of stuff happening. That's the distributor up above. But the main shaft runs down, all the way down the length of until it finally terminates here, where it is where the last of its torque is driving the crusher. A Victorian factory had to be laid out in a linear fashion. You had to follow that main shaft. There it is. You have to follow this main shaft and put your machinery to either side of it. Now, Create distributes the torque, what it calls stress units, along the shaft evenly. We will overstress if we put anything on at any point that is too much. We don't have a lower torque available at the end than we do at the start, as we would in actual world. Physics is a bitch, as William Bell said. This is a distributor system, by the way, that you're seeing with the blue belts. That is sending die essence out through the brass tunnels in measured quantities so that each of the die works gets the appropriate quantity. That took a little bit of doing. The appropriate, so we can, while we have some ancillary machinery here around the sides, that's all driven by its own separate takeoff shaft. As you can see, there is a shaft coming in from the windmill. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's the distributor kicking off, sending a measured quantity through each brass tunnel and popping it over. There is a windmill coming in through the ceiling and driving this belt here, this transfer belt, which then works this shaft and drives all the ancillary machinery. It all has to be lined up underneath that drive shaft. This is classic Create, and this is the early Industrial Revolution. Okay, and my character, and we've looked at this. I'm going to do a save and quit to title, and I'm going to switch worlds. This is going to take just a minute. We're going to go over to the BRB screen. I'm actually obviously still here, as you can hear me, but I need to go do some things on another monitor for a minute so that we can go look at the later Industrial Revolution, because what happens here, when electricity is first introduced, electric motors are whacking huge. They are the size of the boiler. And so what happens is the factory converts from a boiler to an electric motor, from coal delivery to paying an electric bill. But the factory itself remains laid out the same. There is no efficiency gain here. Now this does apply to the modern era because it also applies to how we introduced computers. Our first computers were mainframes. They were pumping big things that were put in the company in the place of the accounting department. The customers didn't see any real difference. Instead of a room full of people working 10-key punches, you had one big machine being attended by a couple of people. So the next critical thing came with the invention of the smaller machines. What do we got here? SoChem. Okay, actually, I also stream and do YouTube. On YouTube, I do cute try-on hauls and yoga. My Instagram, yada yada. Spicy site. Probably not going to talk with you about the spicy site. You know, not my thing. But hey, if you wanted to look at Minecraft and talk about Victorian technology, you have come to the right place. Because I am about to, let me get back to OBS here. Let us go game screen. There we go. Single player and load Tramontana. This is the current world that I'm working in. It is a 1.20.1 game world using the Create mod, and also with Create New Age. Create New Age completes the Industrial Revolution for Create. It introduces generators, and it also introduces small electric motors. And the small electric motors become absolutely critical to the design. Once we had, in the 1800s, once we had electric motors small enough to mount on an individual piece of industrial equipment, to mount on a particular machine, and run it by plugging it into the main cable. The main cable is flexible. It'll go all over the place. That was the iron train going by. Iron train does not stop here. We are at the factory farm. This is CK Farms. We'll turn around and look at it more in a second. You just saw a glimpse of something. Let's go turn around here. This is an electric motor. So is that. That is a strong motor. It has more capability than the basic motor behind it, above and behind it. The strong motor is operating a ducted fan here. The encased fan is driving air through this set of chutes and actually blowing stuff up into that barrel. And then out into the loader here that is supposed to be loading the train. Ideally, the farm should have automated delivery of its processed foodstuffs, but I am having a problem with the transfer to the train car. I suspect it is because I'm using a hopper car schematic in, but I've gone through it and haven't found the problem yet. Tangent. Smaller electric motors allow you to put your machines wherever you want to put them. This means you can now reorganize your factory floor in the order of production instead of in the order of power requirement. Early Victorian factories were organized, the machines were lined up from the boiler or electric motor outward in the order of power requirements. The biggest, heaviest machine was closest to the power source because it would take a lot of power off the drive shaft. And you needed to do that close in before you put any smaller machines on. The buzzer means that this train is stopping here, and we can see that it connects here. And we can also see that it is not moving fried rice. That fried rice should be going down through the portable storage interface into the hopper car. There are item vaults underneath the coal ore. There is no filter. Portable storage interfaces don't have filters. And it connects, whoops, we just got wiped off there. A little uncomfortable. We just got wiped off. Okay, so portable storage interfaces don't have filters. The electric motor, the small electric motor, allows us to organize the equipment in the order of the production steps, which means you have a much greater efficiency to the factory. You don't have people running back and forth up and down the line all day, hauling stuff from one machine to another. It's just passed down the line. The assembly line is born. Henry Ford did not invent the assembly line. He only commercialized it. He was also a screaming racist and generally a shit person, so let's not talk about him anymore. The display board here shows the contents of this item vault that we're standing on. The item vault is fed by a series of Tom's Simple Storage hoppers, each one filtered for a different item. You cannot do an asterisk filter or a general, oops, ouch. Fortunately, we're in hover mode and didn't take any damage from being hit by the train. Create trains are solid objects and will do intense damage if you're not careful. So yeah, this is the vaulter. It hauls finished goods out of the storage network, drops them on a conveyor belt in order to be sent into the item vault for storage and eventual transfer via the loader. Yes, it is a very large amount of stuff. This factory makes a lot of stuff. And we're going to go into the factory and we're going to see it in a few minutes, but we're going to go around the back first. Because we're going to go see things in order. So, generators. Let's start with the tank farm and the generators. The tank farm has gotten ludicrous. I had to put navigational warning beacon lights on the tanks. We're running a big boiler here. This is a level 12 boiler. This is the largest I've ever tried running in a build application. I've done bigger in experiments, but they're tricky. You go up past level 12 and you run the risk of an explosion. This thing is cranking out just phenomenal amounts of power. I've got the engines organized into 2 groups of 5 so that I have a total of 81, almost 82,000 SU, and I'm using 97%. Those 5 engines are turning out 82,000 SU, almost all of which is being used by this generator. Generator coils running inside netherite magnets. These give me the most magnetic flux. They are a tremendous pain to make. They require netherite, or ancient debris at least. Yeah, that is a crap ton of mining in the nether, let me tell you. There are ways to get around that with Create. You can set up drill arrays and so forth and have a safer experience, but it's still... The generator feeds out through a carbon brush array, through diamond wire, which is for the maximum transfer capacity, into these maximum sized accumulators. Accumulators will only go up to 90 MFE, which is a lot of FE to store. That is a great deal of capacitance. These two are not storing because they're powering the factory, and there's an awful lot of energy usage ongoing in the factory. That's just a water tank, and that feeds a pipe that goes, well, feeds this pipe. That's the pump, and there's a clutch on it. And it's just using a little basic motor here, this electric motor. I don't have a windmill or a drive shaft or any of that nonsense. I just stick an electric motor where I bloody well need one. If I take a wrench to it, I can control the speed in RPM. It's set to 96 right now. If I crank it up any higher, it's going to overstress in all likelihood because this is a basic motor and it doesn't produce a lot of SU. The higher the speed, the more SU it takes to maintain the speed. And the wrench will also control the direction of rotation. So changing rotational direction is a matter of clicking it with a wrench. Big deal. Just that simple. It simplifies things so much. This was a quantum leap in technology in the Victorian era and got us from this. Being able to build small electric motors is what got us from steam power to electricity. The pipe goes down into underground and goes off into the factory and supplies water for a couple of manufacturing processes. And yeah, we're getting our first look at the factory from a distance. Pearl brick. I used a trowel in order to get the texturing. And then the ornate iron windows from Create Deco, which have that nice industrial, late Victorian look. Over here we have bioethanol. 830 buckets of bioethanol in a tank high enough that it needs navigational warning lights. At night, the effect is fairly striking. The bioethanol is being pumped to the boiler and is feeding the blaze burners. The blaze burners have been given straws so that they can consume liquid fuel and are just cranking merrily along. They took up 4 buckets each initially, and then there is a pipe supplying them with as much bioethanol as they want to drink. There's 800. This is the refinery. Sugar in here. Cinder flour here. And over here, this is where the biomass goes. We're not currently making biomass. I would need to feed like seeds and stuff into here that can plants that can be pounded into biomass. The seed oil is mixed with whatever plant and goes off to the through the refinery. I've been using moss blocks and rotten tomatoes because I've had so many of both. Oh, and that is more seed oil being stamped out. And here we are at the farm itself. We get a look. There are 2 generators, yes. There is a total of 5 accumulators. The silo there is actually a silo. The Tom's Simple Storage System is built into it. That silo is full of barrels from top to bottom. And is the storage system for the entire farm. Everything feeds into and out of that silo. It's the pivot point of the entire farm. Standard, very basic auto harvester for wheat. Everybody has seen a radial wheat auto farm. This one's using bunny ears sails because I happen to like that design. I've used spinal ridge sails a couple other places. So yeah, the seeds gathered by the wheat from the wheat field go into the storage system and are then dropped by this hopper into the chest, and well, there we go. And are then automatically stomped into seed oil. Let's go on and get this going. Rather than go find more moss block and harvest it, I'm just going to do a give command. I really have no problem using give commands, by the way, I should warn you. Oh, Lord, my heat. I hope this doesn't overheat on me. Hey, Mox. Working and lurking. Beautiful steampunk situation going on here. Yes, thank you. We are talking a lot about steampunk and about the Victorian era and the Industrial Revolution here. Let's see. Moss block 1024. Boop. And let's just get this rolling here the quick way. I have no problem giving myself using give commands to grab raw materials. However, the world you are seeing has been built 99% in survival mode. I have processed and crafted everything from raw materials for the challenge of it, but have not gone out and spent like days mining and foraging and stuff, because who's got the time for that? I got a refinery to build here. I got a factory to run. I got a farm to see to. Standard circular farm for the assorted veg here. We have a pumpkin auto farm going here. Now I have included Botania in my mod set, my mod pack, because Botania has some really useful stuff. The floating agricarnation you'll see here and there, that is a magical flower that bone meals any crops in its radius. It just continuously randomly bone meals in the area. You'll see green sparkles when it does that. And then the deployers are all given iron axes and told to attack so that they will break the pumpkins and then shoots under the deployers to catch the pumpkins and drop them into the system. Standard radial sugarcane farm. Over here we have livestock, the cow compressor. I've used entity cramming here to do this, and so yeah, we have a cow compressor. These are bergamutes, which absorb sound and help keep the noise down from all these critters. Chickens, pigs, and sheep. And then the chests are for breeding more. If I want more sheep, I just throw wheat seed, throw wheat into that, and it gets deployed in and breeds them. And hey presto. Wired for electricity. The diamond lines are the main high tension lines. They are carrying power across the farm. The gold lines are the takeoff lines. They are lower power and used to connect the motors. Again, being able to put a motor wherever I damn well please allows me to build the machine and then worry about how I'm going to power it. And if something is going a direction I don't like, I just use a new motor. I got a couple of motors on this. This is the Auto Bees. Electrically powered automatic bees. Bees are not producing at the moment. They've probably run out again. The problem with bees is that they wander off and they get caught in the machinery, and every now and then I have to restock my bees, which is annoying, but that's part of being a beekeeper. You have to restock your bees at times. The farm still has some flaws in it. I'm working on it. The honey gatherer, however, works really well. And I have a tank over here with 181 buckets of honey that this machine has gathered so far. Electric auto cow, currently shut off. It has a single bucket on the assembly line, and even with that one bucket, I was getting an awful lot of milk in the tank, and yes, thank you, Bossy. I was getting to be awfully a lot, and so I shut it off. But you haven't been happy, have you, stuck up there? Let's fire up the pump, and then we'll fire up the auto cow. And the bucket goes up the conveyor belt and into the deployer. Oh, bother. I've got dirt in the damn thing. Shit. Alright, can I... How do I get a hold of this? I'm going to have to come up here and take it. Come on, let me in there. I got to get this dirt out of there, or we're not going to be able to... Come on. Crap. Break this. And there. There we go. Now I got to replace that. Let's see. Perch. Drop. There. Isn't Bossy, there we go. I was in the way. Okay. So the bucket is pushed up at the cow. and fills with milk. The smart chute with the filter means that only a full milk bucket can drop out. Goes across the drain. You push on the push them and pull on the pull them, and the pickles go into the jar. And we end up with a tank of milk, a very large tank of milk. Beyond here, okay, rice, standard rotational farm. We've seen that before. Same basic design. Excuse me. A bit dry this morning. Same basic design for cocoa beans as for pumpkins. Glassed in because cocoa beans tend to go kapop and fly everywhere, and I want them on the conveyor belt. Dang it. Some of the machines do have names. This is Sylvester McCocoa McBean. Over here we have tomatoes. For some reason, the trellis ropes keep breaking, and I don't know why this is, and it's really getting on my nerves. I'm still debugging some of this stuff. I mean, there's always debugging to be done. So let's get in here for a second and get the rope put back. This was the result of an earlier experiment that didn't work so well, but it taught me to put the hopper hawk in the middle. That is a floating hopper hawk, Botania functional flora. The hopper hawk picks up any dropped item in its radius and drops it into the chest underneath it. You can filter what goes in the chest. I haven't bothered because pretty much the only thing in the radius is going to be tomatoes. Anything else drops into the food storage system, it's not really an issue. I can pick it out later, you know. Oh, we have one rope left over here, and I'm not sure why we have that one rope, why it survived. I have not figured out why the ropes keep breaking. I think the ropes are breaking partly because when I start up the game world, but I'm not totally sure. Here we have the central silo. Central silo has over 3,000 inventory slots in it. You can see that there are barrels inside. There's 1,800 slots free at the moment. I've stored rather a lot of stuff, haven't I? This is sugar processing, and it is continuous. Any sugar cane dropped into the central storage system will be immediately pulled out, dropped into this mill, converted to sugar, and dropped back into central storage. Boom. Very tight little loop here. I have a similar tight little loop over here. Let's shut that off for rice processing and for making wheat into wheat flour. Here's what's in there. Boy, howdy, there's a lot of stuff in there. Let's pull these beetroot seeds and take them to the refinery. I could do that. That would clear that many slots in the inventory. Let's go do that and just pop over here. There we go. Here, and we'll just drop them into here. And they will be beaten into seed oil. Presto, they're being beaten into seed oil. Oh, oops. Fortunately, I carry a spare jetpack. Yes, I am flying with a compressed air jetpack. This is not creative mode. 3,000 cocoa beans right now, and we saw we had something like 600 buckets of milk. We're going to do something about that in a minute here. Let's go on into the factory and have a look at what all this is feeding into, because what it's feeding into is this. Welcome to the factory floor of CK Farms. All electrically powered, nice electric grid coming in, Tom's storage cables going through, piped in fluids. Let's start over here. This crafting terminal here is pretty much the nerve center. This is where I run the factory from, because it shows me everything I've got and what I need to make. I can see that I need to make cake bases because I want to make some cakes. And to make cakes, first off, we have to make sure we have dough. I have plenty of dough. I have scads of wheat flour. So we will make some cake bases. There is a smoker here, labeled Cake Baker. It is an automatic smoker. It's auto-fueled from here. And this hopper is filtered for raw cake base, and this one is unfiltered because it's just accepting whatever the output of the smoker is. This means I can manually throw anything into the smoker if I need to put something cooked into the system. I can just take the raw ingredients and throw them into here, and it'll automatically take care of it. This is the dough mixer. Over here we have the cake base maker. Cake base maker is supplied with it has a basin here. Let's see if I can get around to the other side of it. There we go. Has a basin that is supplied by 3 inventory hoppers to get it the ingredients it needs: eggs, dough, and sugar. So it's supplied directly from inventory. It has a recipe filter so that we only get the one thing out of it. And yellow is a takeoff line, red is power transfer. Easy enough. And if I come over here, there's a little electric motor and a clutch, and if I switch on the clutch, it starts stamping out cake bases. Boom. And we are making cake base. And if we look over here, we can see that the smoker is now lit because cake bases are dropping into it and being baked automatically. Walk over here, and we can see our cake bases dropping into the system as they bake. There's another one coming in. Number 7 just came in. And then we can convert these baked bases into various things. I'm going to just let this run for a minute here. Tell you what, let's just let it run for a minute and go fire up the chocolate machine, because we need to fire up the chocolate machine. We have a pipe there coming in, bringing milk. It brings milk down to here, where we then also supply cocoa beans and sugar, and we make chocolate. And the chocolate goes into the tank. Push on the push 'em and pull on the pull 'em. I'm going to fire up the pump first, and then fire up this motor up here, and whirra whirra. We are making chocolate. We're making chocolate at a high rate of speed. We're pumping it out at with a 128 RPM basic motor maxed out. And we can see, just look at that. We have a steady flow of chocolate into the tank. That's just amazing, isn't it? All those beans that Sylvester had produced, we can see them here ticking down as we are converting those cocoa beans into chocolate just at a frantic clip. So excited about your milk pipes and chocolate tank. Holy shit, you haven't seen anything. Did you see? You didn't see the honey tank and the milk tank out back, did you? This is the honey tank here, and it has pipes that go across. And let's just walk over here and up the ladder and onto the catwalk. And yeah, there's a milk tank over there and a honey tank there and pipes going into the factory. And they all converge at the spouter. Chocolate, milk, honey, all supplied to a spout so that I have a manually controlled spouting station where I can make 3 different kinds of cakes. Let's make cakes. I've had the cake base banger going for a while. Let's shut it off. There we go. That gets me rather a lot of cake bases. Plenty. Literal land flowing with milk and honey. Yeah, I had a few accidents along the way and had to clean up with buckets. That was a thing. Be careful about how you hook stuff up. Okay, I want to separate out 2 cakes from the rest here. There's a reason for this. You'll find out in a minute. We're going to start by making regular Minecraft cakes. So what we're going to do is reach up here and throw this lever, and that will fill the spout with milk. I can then reach over here and take these cakes, drop them into here, and produce 22 Minecraft cakes just that easily. Now they won't show up in here because the vaulter is running. They'll show up in the vault. So they finish running eventually. It does take a few minutes to run that many cakes through the machine. In the meantime, we have more baked bases coming up. I should go on and separate out 2 more sets. There we go. Okay. Turn off the pump. There's still milk in the spout. So reach over here and put in these 2, and that will whoosh. Oops, right, it takes an entire one. There we go. For that. Okay, forgot. That clears the spout. Now let's make chocolate cakes. Fill the spout with chocolate. Drop cake bases in. But also a terrifying amount of levers in this geographic location. There are a lot of levers. This is steampunk created. This is Victorian machinery. This is late Victorian era. If you've ever been to a Victorian commercial bakery, they actually look similar to this. It's really quite terrifying. It's a thing. So we're spouting chocolate here, and we are done, and we turn that off. We still have chocolate in the spout, so we throw 2 cakes in order to clear the spout, because making a chocolate cake takes half a spout. There we go. Chocolate cake's made. Now let's fill the spout with honey. We fill the spout with honey, and we make honey cakes. Making 3 different kinds of cakes that easily, just by throwing the levers and controlling what is being spouted. And always remember to clear the spout. Alrighty. And we are up to 399 buckets of chocolate and 400 and ticking along. Just going to leave that running for a bit. Over here, this machine makes chocolate dough so that we can make chocolate cookies. Let's make some chocolate dough. You can't really see it happening there. You can see it happening over here. These are the chocolate cookies. I'm just going to make a few of these. Let's see. Grab 7, and I think it takes 4 to clear the spout. I really ought to have a chart. Actually, why don't we just fill the spout and drop in those and kapop. No bake Oreos. You throw chocolate dough in and spout them with milk, and presto. Here we have the Wonka press. This makes Wonka bars. You see the chocolate bars dropping out of the basin into the chute. Not sure why it stopped. Why did it stop? Weird. Ran out of chocolate. Why is it out of... Oh, I forgot to turn the pump on. It helps if you remember to turn the pump on. There we go. Okay, and we are stamping out Wonka bars. The only problem I can see with this beauteous haven of industry is if one person with incomplete knowledge of the system touches anything, there may be an issue. Speaking as someone with incomplete knowledge of the system, yes, there have been issues. This is true, however, of any factory. This is how children become candy. Yes, it is. This is true of any factory. This factory is, well, it's very Victorian. There's not a safety barrier anywhere in sight. There's open power lines running everywhere. I mean, it's very, yeah, much. You know, let's just turn that off. There. Okay. Over here we have Autopot. Oh, this is the donut machine. The donut machine just, you know, it cranks out donuts, and then we can take the donuts and take them over here and make sweet donuts or chocolate donuts, or if I was making apple syrup, I could make apple donuts, but I'm not making apple syrup because I have not figured out how to automate apples. Let's look at the Autopots because they're kind of fun. Oh, that's the rock candy machine. It's a pain in the butt. Autopot. This is an Autopot that makes Ratatouille. That's a blaze stove. Oh no, we're on the run from fantasy. It's yeah. Well. Robo Chef. And when the food is done, another arm will grab it and throw it into the chute here to go feed into the main system. We have the ingredients lined up in the order of the recipe on these depots. Filtered out, dropping onto the depots. The first mechanical arm is keyed to the depots in the order of the recipe. It's really, you have not figured out how to automate apples yet. Normal sentences said throughout time, yes. I also have not figured out how to automate fish. Come on. There we go. There's our tomato, and we're cooking. Okay. And so we have one arm that supplies the ingredients and another arm that takes the completed dish and sends it into the inventory system for shipment. There are 12 Autopots in this factory. Autopot number 11 over here, Autopot number 12 over here makes Glowberry Custard. Autopot number 12 has a special consideration. It uses milk, which is supplied in bottles, and when it completes the recipe, the pot hucks the empty milk bottle out. Onto the floor, where the floating hopper hawk above the chute grabs the empty bottle and drops it into the chute so that it goes back into the system to be refilled with milk. I have floating hopper hawks over a couple of chutes for exactly that same reason. The mechanical arm does not grab the... it's supposed to... If the bottle gets spat out, and so the mechanical arm can't grab it. If the empty bottle stayed in the pot as an extra ingredient, as an unwanted extra ingredient, the second mechanical arm would take it and throw it into the chute. But because it gets spat out, I have to have a magical flower to pick it up for me. How are we doing on chocolate? We're up over half a million millibuckets, over 500 buckets of chocolate in there in this short a time. So I'm going to reach up here and I'm going to turn off that motor. Then I'm going to turn off the pump. Order of how you turn things on and off makes a difference. Order of how you put the program the mechanical arm makes a difference. There's a lot of it. Yeah, stuck bee. I have stuck bees every now and then. Catwalk, so that we can get a look at it from above. Various things. The Autopot arrays. A large chunk of the factory is Autopots for doing the cooking pot recipes. Section over here of preliminary work. There is a pasta maker down in there and a couple of other machines. A tomato sauce maker. But mostly, yeah. There's the spouter. Oh, and then over here, ouch. This is Uncle Roger. He makes cooked rice. He's next to the beef mincer that takes steaks and makes them into hamburgers. If you make them into hamburgers, you get 2 recipes out of them. And then everything eventually ends up... We have... Whoops, I've gone out the wrong door. There we go. This is the clutch that controls the vaulter, which is what's running above us. And that's simply an array of hoppers that pull stuff out of the storage and send it into this item vault. And this is the output of the factory thus far. I think it actually runs off the bottom. There may be more items than will fit on the display board. I've had to expand the display board upwards, as you can see, a few times, just to get everything on it. I should not be standing on the track. There will be a train through here very shortly. Oh, I do have one auto crafter array, one mechanical crafter. Regular old Create mechanical crafter. It's fed by Tom's Simple Storage Hoppers, and it makes pumpkin pies. because pumpkin pies have to be crafted rather they're farmer's delight. They have to be crafted in basic. They have to be crafted rather than being put through the mixer. And that is CK Farms in overall. The farm section, the factory, the power systems. Ideally, what should happen here is that the cargo train, Cargo 2, should pick up the finished food items here and take them to the airship station. I am having a problem with this. The cargo car, the hopper car, does not want to take the input from the portable storage interface. I haven't got that debugged yet. Working on it. Let's go look at the airship station. Now, I wish I could take the Bamboo Express there, but the Bamboo Express does not stop here. So what we're going to do is go to the Crusher. This is at the mansion, also known as the factory, the original factory. And I'm going to take this opportunity to put my spare jetpack on the winder. Now, yes, it would be one of the trains coming in. That's the Bamboo Express, which I'll want to take to the airship station shortly. We'll go look at it, get it in a minute. I'm going to get it on this next loop. Is this one of those situations where there's incomplete documentation? Oh God, yes. There's incomplete documentation. I have not done an operating manual for the factory because I'm the only one running it. It's a single-player world, so there's not a need for it. But some of the stuff that goes into the mods, I have discovered it is really critical with the mechanical arm, the order that you select your sources and targets in. It makes a big difference, and that's not in the documentation. Create New Age is okay as far as doc, but it's also got some issues. This was my first attempt at a tomato farm. As it says, there are no failed experiments, just more data. I learned that I had a conveyor belt to catch the tomatoes and kept having stray tomatoes landing on the dirt or wherever, and put a hopper hawk around behind to pick them up and said, you know what, why don't I just, screw the conveyor belt, just wrap the farm around the hopper hawk. Made sense. Standard sugarcane farm, because you can never have too much sugarcane. This is the test farm. This is where I've done all my test beds. The wheat farm isn't running because I don't need it at this point. I needed wheat early on before I had the auto farm set up at CK Farms. Same with and then learning to grow rice. This is Farmer's Delight rice. So it is a 2-block high plant. The lower block is in water. And then I've got a standard auto harvester to go around and take up the rice above the water. Once the plants get above the water, the floating agricarnations will start bone mealing them. The agricarnation will not bone meal a plant that is underwater. Now this one I used a dorsal ridge on for the sails instead of the bunny ear design. Lower profile, whatever. A couple of test hives. Various things. Mox, were you here when I showed off the elevator? Did you see the elevator? I'm going to hold here for a minute. I need to anyway. so that I can catch the correct train. Ta-ta. Okay. Cool. I have done a minor improvement on the elevators. Got the sensors moved under the floor, figured out how to use redstone links. This world, I have been learning how to use all sorts of stuff I've never used before. I've never done encased fans before. I've never done mechanical arms before. We'll take the Bamboo Express up to the airship station. Gotta love a nice train ride through the country. That is the iron extractor. Create ore excavation. We're waiting on a signal. Create ore excavation gave me a reason to build a cargo railway. I had been wanting to build a railway, but had not. I was just trying to build passenger lines connecting pre-existing villages. And I'm like, Create ore excavation gave me a reason to build a cargo railway. Ore excavation puts veins of minerals in various places in your game world. They are very widely spaced and rare and a little difficult to find sometimes. We're coming up to the airship station. We'll be leaving the train momentarily. I've located a few of them. I've only exploited 2, one for lapis and one for iron. Okie doke. And here we are at the airship station. Hit the call button. Mechanical arms start hitting that technical limit for me where my brain goes, I have to do things in order? No. Yeah, my neurodiversity is very much about order. Satisfactory is a thing. Shapes is a heck of a game. I play Shapes, and it is a wonderful, wonderful game because it gets the whole thing of production down to its basic elements, dumps the whole ecological exploitation storyline, and just really gets it down to the actual mechanical elements, and I love Shapes for that. Okay, let's go up a floor to the mezzanine and see the automat. Because I have built an automat. It's automatically stocked. Or at least it would be if the damn train would bring stuff over. I haven't quite sorted everything out. We got some issues here. The rock candy does not stack, and yeah, that's been a thing. But everything else works. We just have to get stuff delivered, and we will have this whole automat here in the mezzanine of the airship station. I'm using smart chutes to replace the smart chute replaces the entire redstone item sorter circuit. That whole circuit with the hoppers and the comparator and the repeater and the redstone wiring, it's all replaced by a single smart chute with a filter. And so I have got a compact item sorter built into here. Whereas Satisfactory is like, you want ecological exploitation? You want nuclear waste? I'll give you nuclear waste. Yeah. No, thank you. Dealt with radiation. Oh, dang. It is basically a redstone item sorter down to a 3-block high, 2-block wide. The second layer of block, the second layer going down is not necessary. I could have done it in just 3 blocks high and 2 blocks wide. Just boom, just like that. Really, the Smart Chute replaces the whole redstone item sorter circuit. Let's go get some food and deliver it. You know what? I really want to show this off. I need to send this up to the ship level so that I can get the elevator out of the way so that I can then zap down through here. And let's go look at the delivery mechanism because, yeah, there's a hopper here that if there was food or in the hopper car, it would be automatically taken off the same way as the iron is back at the mansion. Dropped into here and then sent off up and away. So let's see about, I'm going to go over to Farm Station. And, oh, that was a close one. What's up there? What's up there is right now is fried rice. And I'm just going to take the fried rice out of there. That's to it. So I got 16 fried rice here. And we go back to Airship Station. And think about what's going on here. Yes, dear, I hear you. You would very much like to arrive. You don't have any food to deliver, so what's it matter? Actually, I'm going to stay right here for just a second. We're going to wait for the Bamboo Express to leave. It's basically the dream. If a dream provided you a gateway into more nightmares. It's a thing. It is a thing. Here comes the cargo train. Cargo train rolls in, and we can see that it makes a connection here. You know, we can see that the port connection happens. It's just there's nothing in it to be dropped in, and so we're going to drop some stuff in. We're going to send that stack of fried rice up, 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 up. And, oh dang, getting back into there maybe be a little bit of a, there we go. I have to wait for the train to move. There we go. Ah. And let's see, main dishes, fried rice. Oop, there's our fried rice that we just dropped in from below. It's fully possible that you just have to build the cargo thing again, but 20 degrees to the left for some reason. That is a distinct possibility. What is more likely to happen is I am going to build a hopper car from scratch rather than trying to schematic one in. Because I have not been able to find a damn filter anywhere. It's making me just so frustrated. But the iron car will accept iron and the coal car will accept coal, and neither one will accept fried rice. And it's making me just, it's sending me right up the wall. And so I'm working on that. I am working on that. Let's go up to the warehouse level. Oh, I need to turn my jetpack off because the jetpack does not like me standing on catwalk in an elevator. Let's go up to the warehouse level here. Past the mezzanine and on up. And here we have Well, there's the business end of this, and I really ought to put glass over it so that, nobody accidentally throws stuff in it or whatever. Not that it would matter too much, as there is an overflow and error barrel here. Anything that doesn't get sorted just goes in the barrel. But yeah, I ought to have like a railing around it and maybe sheet metal over the top. I haven't been up here to redo the decorating since I put this in. I had to rip out a bunch of my crates and stuff. Unfortunately, this is what's visible from the passenger elevator. I had put a bunch of stuff around the passenger elevator so that the passengers had something interesting to look at going up through the warehouse level up to the airship. But yeah, I got to redo that. The baskets, by the way, are storage containers. They will work just as readily as chests. I've got them sitting out for decorative use right now. But yeah, they can have stuff in them. Like this one has a lot of stuff in it that I had to remove in order to put in the hoppers, so I just threw it in the nearest basket. I need to get the Redstone item link working on the arrival signal so that I can make the bridges raise and lower. I would really like to have this fold up out of the way when the elevator departs. Same thing with safety doors down lower. I've yet to figure out how to do safety doors. There is a way. I just have to get a redstone link to pick up on the arrival and on the redstone signal emitted by the floor sensor when the elevator arrives and departs. The chuffing you're hearing, by the way, is the boiler down underneath the airship station that is providing its electrical power. The airship station has its own generator on site. That is pretty much the extent of that. Let's see. So, the whole point here being that we have moved from dependency upon a central drive shaft and having to organize the equipment in the order of power takeoff to being able to organize the equipment however we like in the order of production, where it's most convenient to put it rather than, than having to shoehorn it into some place because of how the power systems go. Who's arriving? Oh, that's just a cargo train going by. Never mind. Let's go check the iron extractor and see how much it's got right now. The iron extractor is kind of a neat thing because, there's this, whoops. Hi, sorry, swat. Let me go around the other side. There we are. Create machinery generally will run underwater, which is kind of a neat thing. The jetpack doesn't like being underwater. 491 raw iron in the vault at the moment, none up in the loader. There's a separate switch to throw it up to the loader. I did put andesite casing on the conveyor belt. That helped with making it so safety is possible. The rules just have to be written in blood, redstone, and also workplace accidents. That is actually correct. Safety manuals are written in blood. Any engineer will tell you this. Most of the rules and regulations that we have, most of the stuff from OSHA that people complain about, are there because someone died. There's no crossing gates here. Crossing gates were written into the safety manual because people walked in front of trains and got hit. You know, stuff like that. Again, being a single-player world, the safety stuff that I'm putting in is largely decorative. But, yeah, in a multiplayer world... Oh, insufficient caffeine and... Yes, too much blood in my caffeine stream here. Correct that. It is early morning. Yeah. Yeah, safety measures would be useful in a multiplayer world. Now, Create New Age will not electrocute you if you touch a power line. If you go to Immersive Engineering... Oh, hello, Bamboo Express. Immersive Engineering absolutely will. For Immersive Engineering, one of the first things you have got to do is build a Faraday suit. You've got to refine aluminum and build a Faraday suit. Without a Faraday suit, you will get electrocuted a lot. Like, a lot. But then immersive engineering is a little bit more about, well, immersive. You know, it's trying to reproduce the actual experience. So yes, you must wear safety equipment. Oh, I'm trying to remember if I had anything else going on at this point. I got to a point last night where I'd gotten the automat working and then was fighting with the train loader, and I rebuilt the train loader 3 different times, and finally realized that it was it's the hopper car. It's some sort of issue with the hopper car. Early Victorian factories were extraordinarily dangerous places. Textile mills were horrific. Textile mills are still dangerous places, but there is fencing and automation, and people don't have to go poke metal hooks into the loom to unclog them and maybe get their arm taken off in the process. Hair nets, hair length. Oh God, hair length. When your power takeoff is a leather belt wrapped around a drive shaft, you must keep your hair short around that machinery, or you keep your hair up under a hat that's not going to come off easily, or a net, or 2 or 3 elastic bands. You never use just one. Oh, Lordy. You know, imagine having, say, shoulder-length hair, and you bend over to pick up something dropped, and your hair gets caught right there. Yeah. This is why... encased machinery was invented. I can't quite get that one from here. Not sure I can get that one at all. There we go. This is why encased machinery was invented, to try and prevent people from getting bits of themselves caught in the machine. Some things, however, you just cannot make safe and still have operational. Terrible scene. Bad to look at and to feel. Yes. Yes, yeah. I mean, just absolutely awful. By the way, if you are into historical fiction, there is a British TV series called Bomb Girls. Do not watch without a content warning. There is an industrial accident in the first episode. It is critical to the story arc of one of the main characters. But it is graphic, I will warn you. Bomb Girls takes place in the during World War II at a bomb factory in Britain. And yeah. One neat little thing, little trick I learned here. You may notice I don't have a wireless terminal in my hotbar. I'm bringing up this whole thing with a hotkey, because what I've actually got is I've got the wireless terminal in my belt slot. So by stashing it there, I can clear a space in my hotbar and still bring it up anytime I need it, and have access to all my stuff that's in the main storage system. Oh, that's a thing. I had talked about the factory about the mansion here being where I did a lot of prototyping. There are no failed experiments, just more data. Here is the prototype of the spout workstation that we saw at the factory. This one, yeah, it does milk and chocolate and honey, but it's a little bit clunky. It kind of had to get shoehorned a bit to get it into the available space, and yeah, still have to figure out what I'm going to do with 384 buckets of chocolate stashed here. I guess I could maybe run a tanker car. Theoretically, I could pump this out. Theoretically, I could pump it out to the train station outside and into a tanker car and haul it off to CK Farms to be loaded into the chocolate tank there. Victorian technology was all about the learning process. Learning about safety, learning about power systems, learning about efficiency, learning how to make more efficient machines that we could organize into more efficient production. Going from steam boilers to electric motors to small electric motors that we could pop on wherever we need them made such a huge difference. This is a classic Create machine here. There's a windmill, and that windmill is powering everything. There's gears and shafts and belts all running madly to make it all go. We go over to CK Farms, and a very dangerous lake. Terraforming to be kept from the eyes of man. Molasses disaster 2 electric boogaloo. Oh, Oh, the Boston molasses flood. Yeah, that's a thing. Wow, that's a heck of a reference. Let's go back over to Farm Station. The good news being, if one of these tanks gets breached, it really doesn't breach. It just loses a block and loses some capacity. So, you know, we're good there. I don't have to worry about 1,500 buckets of seed oil flooding out my farm. Oh, the hot air balloon in the distance, by the way, is an auto-generated feature. I did not build that. That is put in by the Immersive Structures mod, which is also the mod that put in the airship that I built the station underneath. Now, the station is all my work. The airship was already there, and I looked at it and went, okay, I want to put a dock under that. Got a wheat seed delivery. The electric motors just make such a massive, massive difference because I don't have to worry about where's the drive shaft coming from? What direction is it going? I don't have to make so much space for the power systems. The power systems all sit out here at this big tank farm and generating station and feed into the accumulators. The accumulators are buried in the ground to various extents. They are actually very tall. The tanks could have been buried into the ground the same way, but I went up with them instead because tank farm does that tend to be how it goes, you know. I've tried to keep this to some extent realistic. That said, there are a few concessions. You know, like the cow compressor. That's just a sad thing. Let's just walk past the cow compressor and go see the bees. I need to conjure more bees. This is going to take a minute. And, yeah, rather than going and finding more bees or farming more bees or whatever, I'm just going to summon a bunch. There. That's to it. It's a single-player world. Okay, that gets me some bees going. We have seen bees here and there stuck in various places. Multi-block structures are the name of the game. Oh yes, very much. Multi-block structures are how Create works. The whole idea of Create was to do all the processing in world rather than inside a magic block. So many tech mods, you feed stuff into a magic block and stuff comes out the other side of the magic block. And all you have to do, and all you do is make magic blocks and route stuff between them. Create is all about the machinery and making things happen in world. You know, the electric auto cow here. We see this bucket traveling around and back up so that the cow can be milked again. With the bees, we're just, you know, at this point we're waiting for the bees to do their thing. As they do their thing and honey is produced in the hives, the deployers, poking glass bottles at them, will create honey bottles which drop out the smart chutes and again go off to a drain and into the tank. And you push them and pull on the pull 'em, and the pickles go into the jar. By the time I get to the point where I've gotten an appreciable number of bees, I forget what I even needed them for. Generally, what I do is I get 2 bees, and then I have lots and lots of flowers, and I stand there and breed bees. I normally try to build out the hives as quickly as possible so that I know, what I'm doing with them. Oh, there went a honey bottle. Just heard one. We see we have bees coming out, we have hives going into honey, and that means that we have bottles going around the system. There we are. There's a honey bottle going. And here's a bee riding on the conveyor belt. This happens a lot. They touch the conveyor belt and then they're riding on it, and sometimes they end up riding on it for a while and taking damage in the process. The bees get squished in the machines sometimes, and that's a problem, but, that's why I have to occasionally conjure. I can also keep hearing background chickens. Oh, yes, there are chickens. The chickens are in the box. That's the livestock area right there that we're looking at. That birch box and the dirt thing, that's the livestock. You're hearing them at a less volume because I do have floating bergamutes, but not enough. Yeah, the cow compressor and the chickens, pigs, and sheep, I used entity cramming and for my livestock. So if I need more chickens, I can just throw wheat seeds into that crate into the chest there, and the wheat seeds will be poked at the chickens by the deployer, getting them to make more chickens, at which point entity cramming will result in raw chicken flowing into the inventory system. Carrots, wheat for the pigs and sheep, yeah. Factory farming of livestock has never been kind. There has never been really a humane way to factory farm livestock. I have very strong feelings about this, partially because I am allergic to those factory farming techniques. Animals that are raised by, I assume there's a sand farm that converts the glass and then becomes glass bottles, the thing getting pumped into the system? No, actually. What happens is the bottles just go round and round and round. It's very rare that I need to add more bottles. The bottles get drained and go back up, and so there's actually only like 3 stacks of bottles in the whole thing. It doesn't need to be a lot more. If I need more bottles, I can just make them here very quickly. I can make a stack of bottles. And then I have 4 auto smelters back at the mansion. If I can throw sand in and have plenty of glass. I did that early on, which is why I have so much glass. I threw a double chest of sand into one of the auto smelters, and just had glass ever since, pretty much. But yeah, the bottles get filled with honey. They hit the drain, and then and we've actually seen a couple go by here. It takes a while. But the bottles go across the drain and then are sent, the empty glass bottles are sent back up that way to the chest here, where they are then sent out through a distributor. This one is set to only send groups of 7. There are 7 chutes. And so when a stack of 7 bottles goes into the distributor is set to force a split. No, I'm not allergic to the milk. I'm allergic to the meat specifically. Reduce, reuse, recycle, yes. Reject needs to go in the front of that. What can you live without? Then reduce, reuse, recycle. It's the meat itself. Animals that are kept idle develop a high concentration of a fatty acid called arachidonic acid in their systems. Animals that are kept active, hello bee. Animals that are kept active, free range animals, wild game, do not build this fatty acid up in their system. It builds up because the animals are kept idle. And so, yeah, it does horrible, horrible things to me, and I will just absolutely spare you the whole symptomatology. You don't want to know any of it. The any animal that has ever seen a feedlot in its life, I have to be careful. I have to know where my meat is coming from. I can only have beef like once a month. And then it has to come from a farmer that I know, so that I know that the animal was not finished in a feedlot. A lot of free range meat in the stores is not actually free range. The animals are pasture raised, and then they are put in a feedlot for a month to fatten them up for market before they're shipped off to market. Putting them in a feedlot wrecks them. I can't go near it at that point. Oh, damn it. I got a bee stuck. That bee is eventually going to despawn. There's nothing I can do for it. It's going to sit there trying to go. It has become a south-going Zax. Oh, yay, it repathed. They don't usually do that. Oh, yay. That makes me happy. I've got a bee in the factory that's been there forever and a day. Yeah, the animal has to not even see a feedlot. It has to not know that feedlots exist. And then I can have the meat once a month. Any more often, and I get the symptoms, and it's just disgusting. It's really disgusting. Yeah, let me walk in here. So, now, this bee here. That bee has been trying to get past that cable forever. And just won't path around it. The poor thing just won't path around it. I've tried pushing the bee. I've tried. I don't want to break the cable and screw up my my data connection for my autopod here. The bee is. I just have a stuck bee. That happens. It's been there a while. Chickens. By the way, I can have factory-raised chicken because chickens get rid of arachidonic acid by dumping it into their eggs. I cannot have cage-bred eggs. They are lethal. We right now have chicks in a tub upstairs in the upstairs bathroom. We're waiting for them to get big enough to move them out to the pen in the backyard, to the barn in the backyard, at which point we will free range our own chickens right here it is possible to do free range urban chickens. The lot that the rental house is on includes a disused lot that has an old barn on it. The barn is not in great shape. The roof's got holes in it, but it's structurally sound enough that we're going to just put chicken wire up around part of it and put a tarp over the top and have a chicken pen. Presto. Chicken coops are really cheap to build. At which point we will be raising eggs on site that I can eat. Yay! Yeah, cage-bred eggs are just lethal. They are like hand grenades of gross. The sound you're hearing, by the way, and this right here, that is a a chunk loader with a Creative motor on it that I hid down in there. The chunk loader is necessary to keep the farm going. And I put a Creative motor on it because I'm not arfing around with my chunk loader. Thank you very much. I do not want my chunk loader kicking out because it ran out of fuel. You know, that would just be bad. So this entire farm was built in about a week. I started it after the end of last week's stream, and in about a week, this is what I've gotten. Now, if I can just get the food transport to work, because I have all this food. There's a variety of things going on here. There's the factory and the farm, orange carpet, which makes it look like lava, like a lava flow. The hot air balloon there. The train goes up this way. There is this fortress here. I have yet to start on the archaeological dig. At some point, I'm going to put a station here and an archaeological dig in operation on this fortress. The airship station over here, the iron extractor there. Way up here is a coal deposit. And I intend to run a train line up there and bring that coal down, because that coal deposit is a ore excavation vein. And it is producing coal. There is coal being loaded in here. Where's the sign? There we go. There's 51 coal there right now. There's no chunk loader here, and so it's only producing coal while I'm present. But that's pretty much the extent of that. Okay, I'm going to sit here for just a second and take about a 30-second bio break, and I'll be right back to finish the stream. There we go. Okay. 65 coal. Yeah, this coal is slowly building up. It is a very slow process. The drilling machine will progressively produce coal It will continuously produce it as long as as I'm here. I can't get it to go any faster. With a windmill, I would have to put in a stronger power system. The windmill overstresses if I try to gear it up any further, which is why the weird-looking arrangement. I had to remove some gears to get it to work. The machine will just continuously produce coal, though, at this slow trickle, at which point I can then send a train up here to automatically pick it up and bring it back, put it wherever I need it. Theoretically, I could do the same thing with the bioethanol if I had a boiler somewhere that needed bioethanol delivery. Let's go to the front porch. I normally end my sessions in this world here. Turn off that, and there we go. So, brings us up to the end of it. We've gone through a couple of different worlds. We've seen the progression of technology from boiler to electricity and the change in factory organization from linear based on a drive shaft to ad hoc driven by small electric motors. And how things work. We've seen a lot of automated food machinery, Create Central Kitchen mod. We have to thank for a lot of that. The Create Central Kitchen mod gave us the Autopots. We have Create New Age with the electricity. And from here, my next task is to get the food moved from the farm to the airship dock. I have yet to put in a monorail from the top of the elevator. I have the monorail track. I've been so busy with the kitchen, with CK Farms, that I haven't gotten to the monorail yet. Excuse me. That's just... Also, I don't... No, I haven't. I have not moved the sensor under the floor. The redstone contacts need to be moved underneath the floor of the elevator. Would allow me to have that one more block of window there. I could see things as we go up. Yeah, all I can figure is that I'm going to have to build my own transport car. I also really ought to think about running a line from the chocolate tank out to the train platform and putting on a tanker car and moving all that chocolate over to CK Farms where it can actually be put to use. You know, let's get the chocolate out of the experimental setup and over to the Wonka Works. Excuse me. It is a good thing that we are reaching the top of the hour because my voice is starting to go. We are also reaching the top of the elevator shaft. This is a very tall elevator. This was the first elevator I've built. First elevator I think I ever built, really. Yeah. So maybe next week we'll be able to come up here and there will be a monorail station here. And that monorail station will go off across this gap here to that next floating island, the really big one. Far enough away that you can just barely see a little gray smudge on the horizon. There. That. Building a monorail track across this gap to this island. That's going to be a challenge. Figuring out how to get the track across there. Going to be interesting. Riding it going to be interesting too. And going out over that gap. So, we have reached the top of the hour. It's going to look so good when you're done. Oh yeah, I really hope so. I hope so. I've got plans for this, and we will see how it comes out, but I really hope so. I'm going to go with the steampunky carriage that I built in the last world rather than the gleaming white monorail that everybody wants to build. You know, I don't want a Disney monorail. I want something that looks like it's powered by clockwork. And this time, dang it, I'm gonna remember to glue it properly so that the gears are part of it and it's got decorative cogs turning on the outside, damn it. And that brings us to the end of another session of this stream. We have reached the end of the lecture and the end of the tour and the end of, well, pretty much everything that I'm going to do this morning. And I need to close out before my laptop overheats. Poor thing. Trying to run these mod packs and stream all on the same box is kind of hard on the system. We got through, though, without an overheat. Knock wood. I'd like to thank you very much for being with me on this journey. Those of you who are tuning in on the VOD, you probably already know that my Twitch VODs are on YouTube. The URL for my YouTube account is on the screen now. I am glad to be part of the truck community. We are an active group of streamers with stuff going on every day. You can see our schedule at schedule.truck.community. It's up on the screen right in front of you there. I will be back next week at 8 a.m. UTC-6 with more trains in Minecraft. And I will be back tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. UTC-6. for a much more chill stream with Roots of Pacha. It's a farm sim about Neolithic people discovering agriculture and living in a very comfortable polyamorous society. It's an interesting game. A lot more chill of a stream. So, until then, thank you very much for joining me. It's been real. It's been fun. It's even been real fun.